How's it going, guys? Kyle here with 4 Mile Ranch, and today we're going to be getting into Winchester's entry into the thermal market. Now, this is their THSX 640 thermal hunting sight, full name. So we're just going to call it the Winchester Thermal for the sake of this video. Now, full disclosure, Winchester did send it to me. No other compensation was exchanged. They're going to see this at the same time you guys see it. They don't have any feedback to this. And as always, I like to be transparent, so I'm mentioning that, but hopefully what I show you in this video lets you know that it's an unbiased review. I'm just going to show you how it performed, and we're not going to waste your time or insult your intelligence with this being some kind of paid review or advertisement for Winchester. And for what it's worth, yeah, different scenery. My studio is currently packed up and all in the safe. I'm in between different bits of travel, so rather than setting everything back up just to have to pack it all away, we are in the backyard again. So you'll see the animals scrambling around, maybe some deer at some point in this video. Cozy little fire because it's currently in the upper 30s. So yeah, which is crazy for someone who lives in South Texas like myself. This thing is a 640 by 512 sensor resolution, and the pixel density is 12 micron, and they advertise a less than 30 millikelvin pixel sensitivity or thermal sensitivity. So all your typical specs that are on par with the different thermal offerings of late 2025, but again, it is Winchester's offering to the thermal market. So let's get into it. Let's see how this thing performed overall, and hopefully I can answer any questions or provide insights that may be needed. So bottom line up front, what do I think of the Winchester thermal optic? Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I first was offered this, I almost said, nah, I'm good, because I have plenty of other thermal projects in the works, and I kind of wrote this off. I thought it was just gonna be kind of another generic thermal scope that didn't do anything to wow me, so to speak. That being said, this thing actually did substantially better than I thought. I really thought it was just going to be, like I said, just kind of a thermal optic, but it wasn't bad. And ironically, this thing went on more hunts than the average thermal optic does during the 90-day review period. So this has been tested for now a period of 90 days. It wasn't just taken to the range once and called it good. So what was this? How was this tested, rather? This was mounted on an 18-inch 556 platform. I would estimate probably 250, maybe 300 rounds put through it. Again, it was used for hunting purposes. It wasn't used as a tactical kind of scope where we're going through cases of ammo. So fairly practical use. So on that note, I would estimate about 250 rounds. Now, one thing I like to do, and that I've made a habit of all my thermal reviews, is at the 30, 60, and 90-day increments, I verify that the optic has maintained zero. How do I do that? Well, I shoot at a little 4-inch steel target at 200 yards. And as long as it makes contact with that from the time of zeroing all the way until end of the 90-day period, if we're making contact, I call it zero maintained. Because the margin of error with pixelated imaging, you know, maybe it's shooter error or not, if I hit a 4-inch target at 200 yards, it's good enough for those ear shots on hogs. And yeah, you guys are out here, we're collectively out here with the animals today, so you're gonna see all kinds of stuff in the background. You may see some deer behind me, but I digress. Back to the Winchester Thermal. Yeah, so that's 3 for 3. This thing is holding zero. Celsius is a sponsor of the channel. Not really, but if you do appreciate these videos and you want to contribute to these projects, I encourage you to check out the 4 Mile Ranch Patreon. That is where you can support the channel. And Optics Planet, who will carry the Winchester Thermal, you can use code RANCH, and depending on when you see this video, it actually could be worth a heck of a lot more than the typical 7% minimum. So always try it. It'll save you some coin. I don't get kickback. You guys just save money. So let's see how this Winchester Thermal does now after 90 days to conclude the review period. Suppose I should record. So that is the little 200-yard steel target that we confirmed on day 1 and at each month increment, and we are still hitting. And I can see it pretty well, which helps. Just for fun,
I'm going to go ahead and pop the 300. I'm going to guess my hold from experience. So yeah, this thing held for all 90 days. Cheers.
So I would estimate right before the 30-day mark, everything was going great, and we opened the back seat to the truck that is on the concrete driveway after going on a hunt, and the rifle with the optic on top falls out, and it does impact the optic. So a minor scuff on the battery housing, but the scope overall was fine. Thankfully, you know, it's kind of one of those pucker factor moments where you don't know how it's gonna fare. The zero did shift, was a fairly hard impact, but we re-zeroed it, and at the 60 and 90 day mark where I'm testing to see if anything shifted, nothing did shift. So I would say this optic did fine in terms of zero retention. Now this was using the provided mount, which basically just has like an oversized wing nut, so you can kind of lock it down. What we did is kind of add some witness marks just to see where that was. And for what it's worth, at the end of the review process, I did take the optic off and kind of remounted it, lined up those witness marks, and it actually returns to zero fairly well. Not that I think this is advertised as a quick detach mount, even though technically you could use it as such. Now, some things I did like about the optic: it is powered by two 18650 batteries. I do enjoy 18650s. I like when companies don't try to reinvent the wheel and they use batteries that are plentiful and cheap. I can't even tell you how many 18650s I have in the collection. I usually always have some on the charger ready to go. They are installed through this little side battery door here, and battery life overall is pretty good. I didn't notice this thing being a battery hog. Now, it doesn't have any kind of built-in LRF function, so there are not as many bells and whistles on this as some other offerings that do drain battery a little bit more, but overall pretty solid in that regard. First time out to the range, admittedly I didn't read the instructions. I just kind of played through and tapped through the buttons, and the user interface was good enough that I could figure things out. The zeroing on the optic also not hard, was easy to get a nice zero. I could see the impacts at 100 yards, which is always you know, that makes life very, very easy. I just simply aim at a leftover piece of paper on the backstop, I shoot into the backstop, I see where that heat signature is, and line up my reticle, and I'm effectively perfectly zeroed as long as that shot wasn't skewed or pulled. And like I said, this thing went on a lot of hunts. It was very successful. It did the job. I really don't have any complaints. The user interface is not going to be the most polished there is, because Winchester is new to this game. The only cons that I can really speak of is the included cable. Not only was it a piece of junk and fell apart and we had to use tweezers to get it out of the USB-C port, but it did not transfer data. Now that has been updated because Winchester realized, hey, those cables are only charging cables, they're not data cables. So now they do include data cables, but from my experience, the cable that was included was essentially useless for more reasons than one. Now, I also apparently have an anomaly in my particular optic. Admittedly, I have not checked to see if there's an update to fix this, but when I download the footage, I cannot view the footage, cannot play back the footage. Even my editing software won't play nicely with it. Luckily, I used a third-party app. It's Handbrake. You can kind of mess with the video compression rates. When I upload the footage into that and then export it, I am able to recover the footage. That's how you guys are seeing all the sample footage through this optic during the review. But that's obviously, if you're not super tech savvy, you don't want to mess with third-party apps. Again, I am told I'm the only one with this problem, but I did have issues recovering the footage from this optic. Otherwise, this thing actually performed really well. Also, as far as I'm aware, at the time of this video, there is a forthcoming application, but I don't believe it is out yet. Therefore, I wasn't able to test it. I can't give you any insights or feedback on said application, seeing as I don't have access to it. So it's interesting that Winchester launched this prior to everything being resolved. I say that with a caveat. Obviously, it is a fully functional, fully capable thermal optic, but all the bells and whistles don't seem to have their full level of support yet. Hopefully, by the time you see this video, that will have changed. All right, guys, so hopefully that gives you the insights you need to know on the overwhelmingly vast array of options in the thermal market. Add Winchester to one of those offerings and yet another option for you to contemplate as we close the 2025 calendar year. If I left any questions unanswered, or if you need additional insights to tell you if this is the right piece of gear for you, leave a comment. I try to be as responsive as possible. Again, Patreon is really the best way to get in touch with me. That is where I prioritize responding to every and all questions over there. So if you are still sticking around, I do want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. And as always, have a good one.